Thank you for staying with us. Now, may I ask, do you understand your neighborhood? Yes, you. Do you understand your neighborhood? Many times we move into a neighborhood and live there for years without paying attention until something happens. And this, most times, could be tragic. Today on the show, we want to look at the importance of paying attention to where we live, security, and people-wise.
And I'm a culprit here, moving into an environment without asking questions, without having the history and all of it. Well, our first guest will be helping us understand how and why we need to pay attention to security in our neighborhood. Our first guest on the show this morning is Cynthia Gregg. She's a graduate of Theatre Arts and Mass Communication from the University of Benin, Edo State. She got an advanced diploma certificate from the University of Lagos in Security Operations and Management. Mrs. Gregg is a fellow of the Institute of Security Nigeria, ISN, a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Industrial Security, NIIS. She's also the General Secretary of the Association of Licensed Private Security Practitioners of Nigeria, ALPSPN. Dr. Cynthia Gregg is a serial award winner, and amongst her awards is Distinguished Women in the Security Industry by NSCDC and ALPSPN. All of these are security organizations, I believe. She got that award in 2020. So you see how qualified our guest is on the show today. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for finding time to join us on the show this morning.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be with you this morning.
Thank you. How about hello from you to the guest?
Hello from me.
To the guest.
I have hello written all over me. In fact, I am over the moon. I'm trying to recover from all of her qualifications.
Okay.
She's such a, she's knee deep in security.
I'm telling you. And for a babe too, for a lady. Okay, Cynthia, once again, it's a pleasure to have you on the program. Now people live in clusters. And these clusters have certain characteristics that are shared. Now, to help us understand our topic for today, could you please give us some of the characteristics that make up a typical neighborhood?
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be in your midst this morning. I need to quickly correct something about my profile that was read. I'm the National Assistant General Secretary of the Association of Licensed Private Security Practitioners of Nigeria.
Thank you for that.
Not the General Secretary, just...
Okay.
Okay.
All right. What a typical neighborhood looks like is a cluster where you have houses, people living, cohabiting within the same neighborhood. You have what you call huts, structures, defined buildings for business operation, for residential purposes, and you have a couple of people who cohabit in this environment. It becomes a neighborhood of its own.
Okay.
And in that neighborhood, there are certain expectations you need or you have of such people living in that neighborhood, which borders on their security. And that is what we are here to talk about today.
Yeah. And before we dive into security fully, because I know you are itching to dive into security, let's take a cursory look at this issue of neighborhoods and how they've been. Over time, neighborhoods in Africa have moved away from being traditionally communal. I'm sure you'll agree with that. And what we see now tend towards more of privacy and less of community. Why is this so?
Well, people have decided to go private. One reason is for fear of security. I am conscious of the level of information my neighbor has about me that I want to share with somebody else. I am conscious of the level of information an artisan who has probably come to work in my house has about me that is going to share with somebody. Before, what threatens security the most in this country is information. Okay. Now, it's expected that we manage that privacy, that space that belongs to everybody. However, it is important to also relate with ourselves in a given community or in a neighborhood, because you can't live alone. Your security begins with the level of information you have about that community where you live or where you operate your business from, and the level of relationship you have with the people living in the same community with you. Okay. So how you manage that with vis-a-vis the need for you to also be very private so people don't sell you out is dependent on your strategy.
Excellent.
And that is what you see that you call people tending to go private.
All right, information you have just said is key. I'd like to know, how do you go about getting information about, on your neighborhood and on the people, about the people who live around your neighborhood? How do you do that without you having been perceived as you're poke-nosing or you're even a security threat?
Okay, you see, when we have decided, if you've decided to live in a place, you must have interest in knowing who your next neighbor is. I want to know who lives on the next structure next to me. I want to know who lives on the next flat. The reason why this is important is because you don't want to see a strange face that you can't describe. So we get to know ourselves by coming out sometimes for communal meetings, monthly meetings. Sometimes we get to know ourselves by interacting with a strange face you're saying. Oh, you live in this premises? And the person says, yes. Oh, when did you park in? I parked in last week. Oh, so we are neighbors now. Somebody must break that silence.
Okay.
Okay, somebody must break that silence.
Oh my God.
Now, I see you moving from privacy to controlled privacy. Okay, now let me ask you. We are often reminded, of course, that you should be our neighbor's keeper and all of that. Isn't that rather intrusive now?
Yes, you can't rule it out. There is always a need for us to be our neighbor's keepers. Do you know one day, a very strange development occurred in my house. We had one of the flats burning. Flame just started from nowhere. And a neighbor of mine was in the premises. He probably has no connection to the flat in question. Yes. But save the grace of God, the fact that he was around on that day. He mobilized other people and then they quenched the fire. If he hadn't done that, the fire would have spread into including his own apartment and other apartments in the premises. So that is exactly what you talk about, knowing your neighbors. You can't do away with your neighbors. They are part of your coexistence. Now, there's a huge difference between managing your privacy and relating with your neighbors.
Okay. So where one stops.
Yes, you manage your privacy by keeping your information about your life to yourself. What you want the public to see is what they get to see. What you share about yourself with the public is what they get to know. So, but a situation where you have somebody you can't even say hi to, you live in the same neighborhood, I see you on the street, I can't even convey you from one spot to the other, is no longer friendliness. So that's the huge difference. So we can say hi to one another.
But abroad now, you don't know your neighbor. You may not even know
but it
your
doesn't
neighbor.
make it right. We're Africans, for God's sake, for crying out loud, and we're Nigerians.
No, in Nigerian setting, it's quite clear. It baffles me when I see a new face on my street and I can't ask a question. When I get to a new community, people ask me, where are you going to? You look like
you're new.
You're a new person here. So I'm very security conscious to the extent that I want to know who that new face is. So I break the ice, I walk up to the person and I ask who you are.
Who are you?
You probably may be a new occupant in a new building. You probably may be even a loiter. I'm very scary about loiters. I'm scared about artisans. Some of them upturn the rules of engagement. You know. So all of these are the reasons why you must relate with your neighbors, either from house to house or from flat to flat.
Very important information, but a lot of us don't practice this. You get too busy, you get home, you just get into your house, you settle your issues. The next morning, probably you're on your way out, and all of that from Monday to Monday. And I hope the viewers are getting this information that is really, really critical, that you take time out to know who your neighbors are, you know. And security is key considering our neighborhood. And it is a responsibility of everyone to ensure that this happens. Talk to us about, you know, ensuring that security is tight in your neighborhood. How much success do you think we have achieved in this regards as Nigerians?
Well, it varies from neighborhood to neighborhood. There are estates, there are associations like street associations who are very particular about how their accesses are controlled. You go to a few estates in Lagos State, mainland or island, you have regulated rules for entry into such communities.
The gated ones.
The gated ones. And even some of the ungated ones may be controlled unknown to you because you are new to the community. So it's quite important that what has bound us together as neighbors in the same community is one, as security. Yes. Which begins with our access, the various accesses, the authorized, and as well as the unauthorized openings. Yes. The kind of people who come to even visit you worry me. The kind of noise you make in your apartment bothers me. The kind of artisans you bring around, even when there is a construction site on a particular street, I want to know, you know, the level of commitment those workers have. And particularly, I begin to watch, you know, how committed they are to the job they are doing and how they do not infiltrate into the immediate community. Because if they become a threat, anyone can actually be a threat to anybody, especially in the area of selling information. And this information are sold to unwanted elements, and the next they begin to attack you.
We often take these things for granted, you know, and I mean,
John has a question to wrap this conversation up.
Yes.
But before that, John, can I throw in just one quick one? And that quick one is, we have a lot of business, you know, offices, supermarkets, hospitals, and all of that in our neighborhoods. You know, these days, it's not only residential anymore. The businesses are eating into the residentials. How much of this control, you know, can we have when the business establishments are more, you know, in those areas now?
Okay, there are categories of estates. Some are called commercial estates, while some are called commercial and residential. Mostly. However, let's say a mix of both commercial and residential areas. What you do is the way you plant your security matters. When you have a supermarket in a particular neighborhood, you will not expect the owner of the supermarket to come to the gate to pick his customer or a customer from the gate. So it behoves on the security outfit or security formation you have to be able to monitor the direction or the movement of that person to that supermarket and out of the supermarket. You know. So that's why, again, many times, a lot of people don't want to operate businesses within closed environment. But if you find yourself operating your business in a closed environment, then you have to be ready to abide with the rules of that community.
You indeed have to.
But then it has to also be a very flexible rule so that you don't lose your customers.
Really.
It's just all about management.
And,
thank you.
You know, all right, let me just ask this one quickly because I have a little confusion in my head. We've used the word neighborhood, community several times during this chat. When does a neighborhood become a community?
You see, when a neighborhood could be a smaller community, like what you do with CDAs and CDCs. A CDA is Community Development Association. A CDC is Community Development Committees. You have pockets of CDAs coming together to form what you call a CDC. Now, same applies to that formation. The neighborhood is like a small town of its own within a larger community.
A microcosm.
A microcosm, exactly.
Okay.
You know, just like what the CDA is to the house fellowships of the church.
Okay.
Same way the neighborhood is to the community. So the community, you could have a CDC chairman and his ESCOs controlling the affairs, the leadership of the entire community. And then you have pockets of CDA ESCOs, chairman and his team controlling the CDAs, being the neighborhood.
So you see, she never got all of those degrees for nothing.
Okay, as a security expert, just a final word in a few seconds.
I would just advise people who live or operate businesses in any environment to partake in the security of their community.
Yes,
you know,
be involved.
Security is everybody's business.
Okay.
So you must take yours very private and very seriously.
Yeah.
You must connect with every arms of your security formation in your community, because your security is paramount to you, and you cannot blame anybody when your security is jeopardized.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, we've run out of time.
Terribly
We only
run
started a
just-
few minutes ago.
Yes.
And we've run out of time.
So thank you so much for your time, Cynthia, Gregg. I'm sure we will have you back here to do a bigger, you know, session with us on security, because this is what the nation is talking about at this moment, and the security of the nation starts from that of the community. You know, we've had series of incidences where armed robbers and kidnappers went through the back when the place was not, you know, fully secured. We will have you back to talk more on this with us.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, our next guest is waiting in the wings. She's Oluwatosin Ishola, and she will join us right after the break to look at how you can impact your environment. What role do you have to play? We'll be back shortly.